Now is USANA Chairman of the Board and CEO, Kevin Guest.
Hello, USANA friends and family. It's great to be with you today as we talk about some very important principles. First of all, I don't think there's ever been a more important time, at least in my lifetime, when being mindful of our health has been so important. Being truly mindful. So what is true health? We talk about true health. True health is really looking out for our bodies, our minds, and our spirit, and keeping those in balance. I want to add a fourth that I read about this last week, which is also emotions, and keeping our emotions in balance, which is also very important to true health. At USANA here, we have the body really well covered, but the mind needs proper care and feeding from a health perspective. One of the things people know about me is that I love to read. I read all the time. I usually have 4 or 5 different books that I'm reading because that's how I feed my mind. There aren't many leaders that I've been around that don't feed their mind some way, somehow. And I challenge each of you to think about, how are you feeding your mind? How are you taking care of the most important organ, I believe, that we have, which is our mind and our brains, and how do we develop those and keep them stimulated? Recently, I was on a big panel with a group of CEOs from other multi-billion-dollar companies, and every one of them started sharing books they'd been reading, and we were sharing with each other, because leaders and CEOs want to improve and want to help themselves, and you are CEOs as well. You are the CEOs of your own business. So I want to share with you one of the books I've most recently read. Great book. It's called The Ride of a Lifetime by Robert Iger. He writes about his 40-plus years at Walt Disney Company, including being the CEO. What resonated with me were the 10 principles of leadership that he outlined that he used as he led this great company. And his 10 principles, by the way, were very consistent with USANA's core values and the principles I wrote about in my book. One really relevant in today's world that I believe I want to just expand upon today is that of focus. Now, we have so much coming at us day to day, especially with does this work, doesn't this work, electronics, technology, disease, masks, everything else, and all of this coming at us. It's really hard to stay focused. And why is focus so important? Because with focus brings clarity. And once you have clarity that comes from focus, then you can execute effectively. So focus brings clarity, which brings execution. So as you think about that, you'll be more effective at allocating your time, your energy, and your resources. Strategies and problems that you're trying to face will be more solvable and have more value if you are focused, because the clarity that will come as you execute. So it's important and absolutely imperative to communicate priorities and clearly and clean. And I would encourage you to share your priorities and things you're focusing on with members of your team and encourage them to share those back with you. There's a story I heard. It was from another book that I read. It was in the book Good to Great. And it was a story about the fox and the hedgehog. So the fox is a very quick animal, and it runs all around, and it pounces on things, and the hedgehog is just this little fuzzy animal, and when he goes to get his water or goes to eat, he goes really slow, and he moves along the trail, and then he goes and gets what he wants, and then he goes straight back. Well, what happens is the fox will come bouncing in, the hedgehog will stop, roll up in a ball, the fox will kind of hit it around a little bit, get distracted, move on to something else. The hedgehog then comes out of its little ball and goes back to where his home is. Well, in that simple scenario, the hedgehog wins over the fox every single time because the hedgehog gets what he is going for, which is either water or food for the day and then back home. Where the fox is utilizing much more energy, is not focused and not heading in the direction he needs to head, he's bouncing from place to place. So I ask you the question, are you a hedgehog or are you a fox? Are you trying to jump all over and come up with new ways to do things and invent things, or are you just very consistent in how you move and you just move forward every day and back? Well, focus will bring you to being a hedgehog. Dr. Wentz, in my opinion, is the ultimate example of a hedgehog. He's very deliberate as a scientist. Through all the years that I've known him, he is very predictable in many ways because he's very consistent. He's very focused on what he wants to do and where he wants to get. And because of that focus, we've had this great execution in this company we call USANA. So please don't look for the magic bullet. Don't look for ways to shortcut, but look for ways that you can focus on doing and remaining focused throughout your process. And then stick to it. And then talk to people and share what you believe. So, what's your focus? What is our focus here at USANA? I love the notion of, and it's taken me a long time to truly learn this because it's harder than it sounds, but we need to focus on things we have control over. Control over our own health. Control over ourselves. See, I don't have control over my children or my grandchildren as much as I'd like to think I did or do, or my wife or anybody else. I only have control over me and what I do every day, what I put in my body every day, what I read, and how I spend my time. So, focus, number 2, focus on your vision. Everyone involved in USANA should be attached to our vision at USANA, the healthiest family on earth. I remember when Dr. Wentz very first said that, he said, I believe of a world free from pain and suffering, the USANA family will be the healthiest family on earth. And from that moment on, that has been the vision of the company and will be for as long as USANA is around. So I learned this serenity prayer a long time ago. It goes like this. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, the wisdom to know the difference is really, really hard, at least it is for me. So let's now evolve our focus. Let's gather some additional wisdom, shall we? I'm honored to have 6 associates joining us. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you. How about our first question from Andy Lozano, a silver director from Mexico. Thanks for joining us. I gathered from talking to you earlier that you're very curious about how each person's mind works. Me too, by the way. I'm happy to totally agree with you. The human mind is fascinating. So what's on your mind, Andy?
Oh, hello, Kevin, and thank you. I'd like to know what's the best advice you've ever received and what kind of mindful insight can you share with us?
Wow, that is a good question and a big question. I've received a lot of advice over the years, and probably the thing that comes to mind first is something I was taught many years ago at Sonavive, which is breathing. It's very important that we breathe. We breathe properly and get oxygen in our system. The oxygen then gets to our brain. It slows it down, slows everything down, slows our heart down so that we can make a better decision. But most importantly, it brings us present into the moment. And being present is critical versus worrying about the future or what happened in the past. Next, it's Nick John Amoroso, a gold director from the United Kingdom. Great to see you, Nick.
Hello, Kevin. Nice to see you virtually.
So from what I understand, not only are you a clinical nurse specialist in one of the leading hospitals in London, you've also achieved gold in only 6 months. Wow, that's amazing. Great work. Nick, it's your turn. What would you like to ask?
Thank you, Kevin. It's nice to see you virtually, but I'm really honored. I'm just curious, what's the difference between the leadership and the management?
Wow, that's a great question. Difference between leadership and management. And that gets very confusing for people because I've seen over the years great leaders shift into management mode and they stop doing what got them to the position of being a leader. And they start moving around and working with others and they're not doing the core essentials that got them to the position of where they were as a leader. As a leader, or potential leaders, I challenge you to always do the things that you did when you first enrolled in USANA. Share the message, work on your brand, be a product of the product, all of those very important things that help grow great leaders in USANA. Now, let's meet Chi Lee, director from Canada. I gathered that amongst this group, you are most likely to be the one who's most up for adventure, as you like a good challenge. Is that right?
Yes, Kevin. I'm so happy to be here.
Like you, I always think it's good to grow and get out of our comfort zone. That's what a great leader does, and it's a great leadership quality. Do you have a question about leadership?
I do, Kevin. So how do we develop leadership skills when there is nobody yet to lead in our USANA business?
Again, another great question. Developing leadership skills is important because I believe leadership is your responsibility. Remember earlier, taking control of those things that we can control, which is ourselves. It all works hand in hand. So take personal responsibility for leadership. Once you take that responsibility, then be very systematic in your action. Now, let's meet Juan Camijo Cortez, a director from Colombia. In addition to your USANA experience, you have also a background in civil engineering and financial coaching, Juan. I love the fact that we have associates from all walks of life and different backgrounds. It's really what makes a difference here at USANA, makes the USANA family so incredible. So, Juan, what is your question?
Hello, Kevin. Yes, my question, I've been wondering for a long time, and I think that many people too, about you as CEO and Chairman of USANA. Where do you think that the business is going to be in 10 or 5 years? And there are any specific challenges that you can anticipate?
Wow, that's a big question. And being a public company, I can't share too much in specifics, but I can in general. In 5 years from now, I expect us to have developed through our R&D processes new and improved and better scientific ways to develop health and nutrition to the world. Secondly, I plan that we will have a solution to plastic bottles and be as responsible as we possibly can as it relates to the climate. And then lastly, we're going to continue to expand around the world into other markets. And so new products and new markets will be so exciting for us as we grow around the world. Now, my challenge for all of you is you need to be on board. Listen to what we're asking you to do, because we're moving towards a long-term strategy. And as we move forward, keep your ear to the ground. And when USANA Mind asks, do something with this in social media, or take this sort of approach, or we're training you here, it's usually for the future where we're headed, not where we are right now. And so if you think about everything we're talking about, especially as it relates to new tools, new products, new initiatives, it's for the future and growing in the future. And if you think about it from that perspective, you'll approach it differently. So that's my challenge to you. There's also someone else who can give some additional insight to where I see the industry trending. His name is John Fleming, known as one of Direct Selling's 50 legends, a member of the Direct Selling Association's Hall of Fame, and the first recipient of the Direct Selling News Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm proud to say he's on USANA's board of directors, a great friend, and a true advocate of this industry. Let's take a look.
Kevin, thanks for the introduction and especially that question. First, let me congratulate you for recently being named Chairman of the Board of the U.S. Direct Selling Association. For decades, you and USANA have had an incredible influence on the direct selling business model as an example of doing business with the utmost of integrity. And it makes me so very proud to serve on USANA's board of directors and provide greater insight on how we can better serve and engage USANA associates and customers in the future. Now, it was over 3 years ago when I founded the Ultimate Gig Project to study and research the incredible growth and appeal of the gig economy and the impact on the direct selling model. Our research revealed a very positive outlook for direct selling. We wrote about this in the book, Ultimate Gig. Technology has changed the game in how we work, how we interact, and share business opportunities, and how we can do more with less. Using artificial intelligence and data analytics, we can provide some of the most personalized consumer marketing, the greatest of products, and create a one-of-a-kind customer experience, which is hard to match by any other business model or channel of distribution. As a result, direct selling continues to transform and become stronger than ever before. And I'm happy to say that USANA remains a trendsetter and leader in defining how we will work, build businesses, serve customers today, tomorrow, and into the future. Together, we, meaning all of us, are playing a significant role in demonstrating why USANA and the direct selling model are at the forefront of innovation, transformation, and recognition as being the ultimate gig of endless opportunity. As architects of our own destiny, we can add incredible value to people's lives, create more lifetime relationships, and further our vision of being the healthiest family on earth. Now, where else can you align your purpose, passion, and love for life in a business that is the ultimate in freedom and flexibility? All the best to you in designing your ultimate destiny through USANA.
I love what John said about combining passion with what you're doing every day and how it is a privilege to be able to work in that direction. So I hope you're very passionate about what we're doing here at USANA. I'm sure you are, or you wouldn't be here. June Wong is next, a Ruby director from the United States. I heard you not only collect empty supplement bottles, you also play with them like Legos. Is that right?
Yes.
Those USANA bottles are quite eye-catchy, aren't they?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
I won't be able to answer any questions on a new bottle tower ideas that you might have, but I'll be happy to take another question.
Sure, Kevin. Nice to meet you virtually. So I do have one question for you. As we all know, USANA has a great vision. How do we share and expand this vision locally and globally as a company?
I think as we talk about sharing our message, and as we've certainly learned through the pandemic, we are in a digital world. We have to embrace our own digital brand, not only from USANA as a company, but individually, what is your brand and what are you portraying? Most important to that is your authentic brand. How are you sharing authentically with others? Not sharing from a sales perspective, but more what can I offer you, not what can I get from you as you're expanding from a digital presence. It is truly an art form, and those who have it down are being more and more successful as they expand their vision and expand their business and sharing. But I would say be very, very digitally literate and be very, very authentic and grow communities virtually as you continue to meet face-to-face and do those kinds of things. But that is certainly where our world is headed, and it was just accelerated over this last year. Our time has gone fast. We're finally at our last associate, certainly not our least. I've known Teresa for many, many years. Teresa Meadows, a gold director from the U.S. From what I know, you've been passionate and on a lifelong journey to help others feel their best and live their purpose, which I think is a great example of not only living USANA, but also really embracing our vision. I'm looking forward to answering your question. Go ahead.
Well, thanks for all your insightful answers so far, Kevin. But I do want to ask, how does USANA see itself emerging in this new social space to become more authentically known for who we are and how we want to stand out against the rest to meet the needs of people and families everywhere?
That's a fantastic question. It's a great way to close our discussion because authenticity is so important, and I'm glad that you used that word in the question. So on that note, I want to close with a thought from Bob Iger's book. And he talks about authenticity as being one of his core principles. He states in there that authenticity along with focus is crucial within business environments, and it's crucial to your business. So what does it mean to have authenticity? It means don't fake anything. Be genuine. Be honest. Truth and authenticity breed respect and trust. Now there's a poem that you've heard me say over the years. It's also in my book, but it's my favorite. I've committed it to memory. And it's by Edgar A. Guest, and it goes like this. And I think it's so applicable to what we've been talking about, meaning leadership, taking control of yourself, the only thing you really have control over, and leadership moving forward into the future. And it goes like this. I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely show the way. Their eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Fine counsel is confusing, but example always clear. And the best of all the preachers are the men who live their creeds. For to see good put into action is what everybody needs. I may misunderstand you and the high advice you give, but there is no misunderstanding how you act and how you live. I want to thank our wonderful panel of associates for joining us today. Thank you, everyone. It's been great. Coming up, Future Lab with our incredible research and development team, giving you insight to where the science of cellular nutrition is headed in a not-so-distant future. Join us, will you?
This concludes your USANA Live All Access session. Thanks for